And with that, obviously, we've already said it, Envy have gone down to the gauntlet now. Their position in the gauntlet still to be determined as they still have games left to play here. But Enemy, I mean, you can see their faces very serious after that game. There's no messing around here. That's not good enough for them. They need to keep going if they want to make it too.
Exactly. We talked about it coming into this game, and that's that Enemy need the 2-0 just as badly as Envy do, basically. So Enemy know that their job is not done quite yet. They need to secure this 2-0 to put them in a position to contend for the top 2.
And you talk about position, well, Envy, we said they're in the gauntlet, but their seeding isn't final yet. If they can find wins here, they can adapt themselves into a better position in the gauntlet, which is very important in North America, I want to say. There's still a lot of teams down there, Ionic, that have already gone down to that area that are very strong, that could cause you problems.
Yeah, definitely. I'm hoping now that the pressure's off of Envy a little bit, they can't make super regionals, but they can play spoiler for other teams, play for their seeding. Maybe now that the pressure's off, they can find a win or two and really elevate their play to how they were during the online stages.
And that spoiler situation is probably the biggest talking point there, because now they face off in the second game against Enemy, and if Enemy loses this game, it's going to put them in a rough spot. Denial as well straight afterwards. They're going to have to play face them today as well, and we'll see how they do.
Yeah, and you don't want to really face Noble early on either. I mean, that Noble's a team that gave Eager problems, gave LG problems. We're able to take some games off of ALG as well, so that's not a team that you really want to be facing early on, if possible. You definitely don't want to be at the bottom seed of that gauntlet going up against most wanted, the Challenger Cup winners.
Well, let's pick some bans again, and this time around there will be no Giannis, there will be no Terra, and Roz pretty much been a solid thing as time has gone on with the constant balance towards it, but it will allow Athena through for potentially PolarBearMike.
Much better start to this game so far for Envy, and it all comes down to Khaos is not on Giannis. I love the start.
But they still get Raijin and still get Thor, so it's a pretty solid mid lane already.
Yeah, it looks like Raijin has been the favorite pick for Khaos after the Janus is off the table, and Thor obviously is Shattered's pick. Not surprised to see him take that here.
Well, he's back over to Envy then for their next 2 picks and where they're going to head this time round. Would you like to get an early jungle out of Skeeledon this time round? They've been holding it back quite a bit, and he's been counter-banned a lot.
Yeah, I would. He's gotten some picks early on. He's gotten Hunbats early on in the draft. It hasn't done what you want him to do with an early pick like that, but I think it's time. I believe early on, day 1, they picked Ratatoskr very early for him, and they haven't really gone back to that since then. I think that could be something they're looking at, or they could be looking to take a page out of Eager's book and go for Bastet.
Or Eager, or is it really Shattered's book? Because to be fair, Shattered did run it before we started seeing a little bit more out of DJ Pennicus to the LAN. Looking for a bit more split push opportunities here as well, Yannick. With the Athena and the global presence, they can rotate around the map pretty quickly.
Definitely. Mike, his favorite god, the Athena, he's really looking to make plays with that Athena. I wouldn't be surprised to see him take the blink. When you talk to him, he really feels that he's his strongest on the Athena. He really feels that his team is at its best when he's the one running around the map and making those plays.
And I feel that kind of looks at the stat lines when you look back at PolarBearMike's career in the Pro League as well. When he was on the side of Eager, he was one of his most dominant gods that he played, and he won, I believe it's something like 90+% of the games that he got the Athena too. So not a real surprise to see that. Enemy will take the Vamana for Marauder this game, so Cyclone will be mixing it up.
And Ram for Oceans this time, going to see if he can make the impact in the duo lane that Envy really needs if they want to get the points to seed themselves a little bit better in the gauntlet here. Bacchus banned away from Pain. I like that. You don't want to let this 3v3 fight from Enemy be as strong as it was last game. I mean, Terra, Thor, Giannis is as strong as it gets for Enemy, but Bacchus pairing up with Raijin and Thor would be potent as well.
Anything else you see on it coming along here for the last couple of picks?
I like that Enemy picked the Vamana and managed to take out those 2 priority soul laners. Take the Vamana, ban out the Amaterasu, force Cyclone onto something different.
Kind of surprised we don't see an Aphrodite ban. I mean, Envy now doesn't have anything else on the line. Kiki, it's always talking about his Aphrodite. It is difficult to play Aphrodite with Bastet because the leap, you have to position yourself to not break the link, and it can be hard. But if there's a player that can do it, it is Kiki.
I mean, but if he pulled out Aphrodite now, right, and they went on and won this game and then won the Sega's Denial with Aphrodite, how upset would you be as Envy where you're like, man, we should have just started with this?
Yeah, it definitely is a bit demoralizing, especially if Envy start to turn it up now, turn up in this set, and then set afterwards if they manage to pull out their wins.
But we talk about turning it up potentially, Yannick. I mean, when the pressure is off, everybody plays better. We all know that, when you're just playing for fun for the most part, and you're not going to make it, or you are going to make it, you kind of chill out, but then all of a sudden the playmaking just starts to happen naturally. Is that something you've got to take into account all the time?
I would say it definitely is. The most important thing on lane is just to play naturally, not to let everything get into your head, and hopefully with Envy now in these games, they don't really have anything to lose.
And we saw Enemy earlier on in day one that, the game that they won, the only game that they won on day one is when they were just having fun. They didn't mean to lock at Ares. They're like, whatever, we'll just do what we can. And that's the game they win. So it's no coincidence. You're right. Playing loose on LAN is definitely the best way to go.
Well, you said the Guan hovered by Envy there, but they're not going to go with that. It looks like Raven more than likely here. No, back to Guan. It is going to be Guan Yu, more than likely for CycloneSpin. I suggest as it was the Raven hover before.
I like the Guan Yu into Vamana because he can't stop your clear. He can't stop the Talu Assault, which is good for you. But into Sobek, I mean, the weakening, or rather the healing reduction on Sobek's 3, it makes it Guan's life a little bit more difficult.
Well, we do see the Freya, the final pick there for PandaCat. We're not seeing it all weekend so far, but he's going to be picking it up now. Is it the right time to do it?
I'd say so. Freya really a god that PandaCat was known for, and I would say a pick that our team was really scared of PandaCat having, because if PandaCat manages to get to that late game with the Freya, you're really scared. He's definitely going to be carrying the team fights.
He's about getting to that late game. I mean, you saw how quickly he turned up on the Anher in the mid game. I mean, obviously Anher a bit more of a mid game god, but he could try and make those plays happen aggro in the early stages.
Once Freya gets 3 items online, the light is green. You're good to go.
Well, final predictions then for this one, Ionic. Where is your money going?
I really, really want to say Envy. I'm going to go with Envy for this game.
You go, Ionic. You go.
Just throw it out there, the wild card for Envy.
Yeah, I don't know. I was gonna do it too, but I'm not gonna. I don't want us both to be wrong, Ionic. So yeah. I'm gonna go for Enemy.
Do you know what? I'm gonna go with Enemy because I want upsets. I want Enemy to really struggle now. That's why. I don't know why. I'm just like, let's make it happen. Totally take it away with the fantastic game 2 of Envy versus Enemy.
Absolutely. Thank you, Hindu Man. I feel like as soon as I stepped off the mic, my nose got a little bit clearer. So hopefully we'll be a little bit less nasally, and hopefully Envy are a little bit more successful. Right away, I like their picks and bans immediately better. Giannis, nowhere available for Enemy. And although I don't think the Giannis won the game, I actually think the Thor did, and while Shattered's still on it, I think that's a step in the right direction. But more importantly, Tolly, let's talk Bastet.
Bastet is one of these gods that it's all about the play style, right? We saw Eager in Group B just absolutely wreak havoc. I think they went either 7-7 or 8-8, 100% win rate with this Bastet. So Skeeledon now, considering the fact that there's no chance for Envy to go to the Super Regionals out of this group, now having to go through the Gauntlet, this is the time for Envy to kind of experiment, right? They go for the Bastet on Skeeledon, which we're not normally used to seeing. We see Guan Yu on CycloneSpin, which is a more passive god in the early laning phase, better in team fights. It has been something that he's played before. We've seen it a lot coming out of him in Season 2 when he used to play against EnVyUs in these lands, being very successful with it. And then we see PBM with this Athena, and I like this combination of this Athena Guan Yu. Every time Cyclone's going to go in the team fights, PBM's going to be following up.
Well, Guan Yu, I feel like Guan Yu has the best secondary initiation in the game, and that's probably a little bit of hyperbole, but I love having the Guan ult after the support has already initiated. Guan finds the players in the backline and just seals the deal from there. PolarBearMike played almost his entire Eager career on that Athena, I'm pretty sure, so I'm really happy about that pick. But going back to that Bastet that I started off the conversation with, Tolly, it's a playstyle swap, right? Skeeledon just has not succeeded on these hard carry gods. And while Bastet can certainly be a hard carry god, she has a lot of other tricks up her sleeve. Jungle invade, even a little bit of split push, don't get mad chat. And you can see how Bastet will bring something different to the game. Skeeledon, look, if it's not working, what's the definition of insanity? So try to switch it up.
If you're going to be playing a Willish in the first game, but not really go into team fights, not looking for the side lane ganks, you might as well be playing Bastet and PvEing anyway, right? So this is a good stylistic switch up for Envy in general. Also being paired up with this Isis being played for Kiki, not something that he's normally used to seeing, which is why we saw that Chang'e ban coming out of Enemy earlier on, but it's good for the team comp of Envy because they have the sustain from Guan Yu in the mid-game team fights once the rotations happen from Cyclone, and then that circular protection from Kiki is just going to keep everybody alive for Envy, given the protections and then the burst heal.
Here's my thing with Envy. Like I said, I immediately like their draft in game 2, a little bit better than game number 1, but it's all about execution. They don't really have a big shot player here, except for Oceans. Nice purification, get out of jail right there. They don't have a player really seal the deal. The Isis, the Bastet, the Guan, none of these guys are big heavy hitters. It's just Rom. So while I don't think that's a gigantic problem, Anatoly, is that something that EnVy has to think about?
I don't think it's going to be too big of an issue for EnVy because there's no sustain options for enemy compared to the last game when they did have that Terra being able to just sit in that monolith for so long. So as long as enemy can keep going for this poke trades, which they certainly can with Bastet, they could get on top of things. But now we see Skeeledon making a rotation. I think they sniffed out Shattered rotating to the solo lane. So level 5 Bastet, only level 4 on the Thor.
Yeah, that's a big point about EnVy. All of their damage is relatively permanent. Sobek can heal himself a little bit. Marauder obviously has the ultimate, but EnVy can deal the damage and then walk away. That's exactly what Bastet is good at. And then re-engage and re-engage and re-engage. Another big swap for EnVy, looking at game number 2 versus game number 1. Like I said it pretty plainly. I've never really been impressed with Raijin, or Kiki's Raijin, rather. Whereas it's quite the opposite on the Isis. I think Isis is one of these characters, we always talk about Kiki being a utility or support style mid laner. Isis is one of these characters that Kiki can do that, but Kiki can also be a powerhouse on this character, which is not usually the tagline for this player.
You could definitely go utility style on the Isis. You can go into the Breastplate of Valor. You can even go Wingblade if you're trying to get more survivability, and just being able to spam those silences, steal the magical protections, slowing them, finding the stuns from a distance is just so good for EnVy's style.
How rare is that? Left lane, we get a glimpse of PandaCat and his support player zoning out the enemy. PBM and Oceans, that's an Athena Rom combo being zoned out by a Freya.
It makes sense because the purification is still down for Oceans for another 45 seconds. If they can find the Whoop Pluck before Oceans hits 5, he can't be able to go into the sky and buy any time for himself to survive. So that would be a very easy kill. So instead of taking that risk for a little bit of farm, he's just going to stay back and allow himself to lose a little bit of gold.
Big catch by Shadow there, stopping Skeeledon. If Skeeledon gets in that lane a little bit sooner, we see at least a forced ultimate out of Marauder. And, you know, that's definitely a big play coming out of Shattered very early on.
We see PainDeViande on the left-hand side. He was around the red buff trying to find the right angle to catch somebody out of position. Now both supports in the mid lane. PBM a little bit behind the level gap from Pain, but that's because Pain has been sitting in that dual lane with PandaCat trying to shut Oceans down.
Invade for invade. Problem is, enemy get a red buff, and enemy or EnVy wind up looking at a cooldown timer. Ultimate out of Khaos. Now he's going to be punished. Skeeledon jumps over the wall. Well, the Thunder Crash is good enough. Skeeledon can't jump back. PainDeViande will knock up, and Shattered's still alive. There's the cats. PandaCat immediately takes to the sky.
Shattered's in the sky. He's looking for somebody to land down on. Finds 2 in the backline. Ocean's going to be able to get him low enough, but the ultimate is down. He can't find the cleanup, so it's a nice invade from enemy. They get away just scot-free.
Bellissimo. That was just gorgeous. Shattered gets away, and so you're saying, hey, they didn't get any kills. Why is that so gorgeous? Enemy was likely to have at least 1 death there. EnVy was pushing up. You were going to see at least 2 dead players. Shattered lands that ultimate, hits 3 guys, gets it defensively, and still manages to escape with his tail between his legs. I mean, it's a wonderful defensive play.
And if anyone from enemy dies there, then immediately, without any hesitation, EnVy will be looking for the counter red buff invade, making sure that they don't get too far behind. So PandaCat walking away cleanly with that red buff, now finishing off the Fatalis, also forcing out the purification from himself and Ocean, so he could still be looking for this power play. Ocean still 1 level behind without his ultimate. This is the time for PandaCat to be aggressive. We saw what he was able to do with the Honor, and it's going to be no different now with his Fatalis Freya.
Or even, you know, you mentioned the red buff invade, even the Gold Fury. This Isis, sure, Skeeledon's cats were down, and it's a big part of what makes Bastet so objective-minded, but Kiki's ultimate was, I'm pretty sure, maybe it was down. But in any event, EnVy certainly had that at their disposal later on.
We didn't talk about their objective control, but like you mentioned, yeah, Skeeledon's cat could tank the Gold Fury. Kiki's ultimate will definitely mitigate a lot of that damage and then burst heal anybody that's low. But now, yet again, more pressure in the dual lane. PandaCat with the bleed, and this is why Bastet is so good against Freya. Just 1 shot away, clean kill. But now Oceans didn't think that the in-hand was going to connect, just wasting his ultimate there, unfortunately.
No, so, obviously, it's not optimal use. Ocean's jumping for joy really high into the sky, but at the same time gives them vision, right? EnVy don't know if anybody's going to come to counter gank, and Shattered Gets countered himself, walks into the enemy base and just gets smoked.
And this is the beauty between the Athena and the Isis. If your purification is down, you do not want to be anywhere next to PBM. He's going to be able to set up so much damage from that Spirit Ball, the Wing Gust as well. You have to respect Kiki being level 9 here, despite him only having Shoes of the Mad Guys complete.
Hey, today's a special. It's a 6-minute tower. Ladies and gentlemen, very quick plays coming out of Envy here. 2 kills to 0, and enemy trailing.
They just seem so comfortable right now, Envy. We see CycloneSpin actually 1 level ahead of this Vamana, and like we mentioned before, Guan Yu is usually one of these gods where struggles a little bit during the early laning phase, but CycloneSpin has so much experience that if he is ever left alone in the solo lane, he will find a way to win this matchup.
You know, it's funny you said experience, and I knew what you meant, as in CycloneSpin's just been around the block, but he's also got a little bit of an XP lead on Marauder now because of his successes over there. He's only got 1 assist to his name, but certainly making an impact nice and early, which is, I want to say that's unusual for Guan to be so effective early. I really feel like he hits his stride a little bit later.
He's wanting to rotate to these team fights for the sustain, and usually Vamanas are able to out-clear Guan Yu's quicker. They're able to proxy farm in between tier 1, tier 2, look for the invades on the back harpies, look for maybe a blue buff invade since you clear the wave quicker. But as a result, CycloneSpin, he's been left alone, and he knows how to win matchups when left alone.
Skill's going to get a little poke on the pain, but I want you to dive deep here, Tully. Let's get into the nitty and gritty. We sort of just chalked it up to CycloneSpin has a ton of experience in the solo lane, but how exactly did this Guan Yu get off to a nice start against the Vamana?
Well, with the Bluestone Pendant at level 4, the level 2 Taolu Assault with the dash is pretty good at effectively clearing the way, but normally Vamanas, if they want to get an edge on Guan Yu's, they should be able to just really disrupt the flow and look for just constant poke and try to out-trade them with the potions.
Shattered lands right on down again. The answer back from Skeeledon. Just another cat.
A lot of ultimates there being traded out, but so far enemy are relatively comfortable under their own tower. They're going to try to defend this for now, but CycloneSpin still having the sustain, being able to top up PBM, but a nice little wall, and here comes Pain with the lurking in the water.
That's a huge wall. That's not a little wall, and Khaos going to get the first kill for his team, but CycloneSpin capitalizes and gets 1. Kiki also shows up, pops the ultimate, and pop goes Marauder.
2 for 1 so far. Now EnVyUs still grouping up. They have the blue buff onto CycloneSpin to constantly get these heals off. Now hitting level 12. They got the tier 1 on the left earlier on, but they could go for the one on the right. There's only 2 members from enemy.
You know, it's interesting. We were talking about CycloneSpin excelling on this Guan Yu against the Vamana, but as soon as we started talking about it, Marauder actually wound up taking a little bit of the lead, maybe 100 gold here or so, and then a little bit, maybe a half a level of experience. But Envy respond by just taking the team to the right side. Once they kill Marauder, that gives CycloneSpin another edge.
At this point in the early to mid game, it definitely favors EnVyUs' comp. Enemy wants to get to the late game with this Freya and the Vamana, but now Envy starting up the goal. If you're going to reset it, they saw 3 members from enemy right around the corner, not really wanting to pull the trigger without the ultimate from Kiki or Skeeledon.
Yeah, I mean, that was just Ocean sitting there. He attacks the Gold Fury, and nobody shows up till it's 20%. But unfortunately, like you said, no secure, so has to let it go, even though it was right there.
Marauder was considering diving there. He didn't have his ultimate, so he wouldn't really find the kill there. Just now getting the ultimate back up. Now making the rotation towards these right side mid harpies. We could see a little bit of action with PBM finding another taunt to Kiki Spear Ball, but not having the numbers advantage is going to disengage and contempt to get their own buffs.
So Envy have done pretty well in this left lane. You can see Ocean's trailing as far as the experience is concerned, but they got the tower first, obviously. One thing that I would like to see Envy do is pay more attention to this Freya. PandaCat, like Eonic said, forever, PandaCat's been known about this Freya. This is a very hard carry pick for him specifically. He's very strong with this character, and he picked it into the Bastet, a character that excels against a Freya. Shouldn't you look to punish that?
You definitely should, but like we mentioned before, Skeeledon is not one of these players where he wants to be looking for any side lane action. He's more content about looking for the PvE, which is why they went the Bastet. We saw that one gank onto PandaCat. A second one would have been really the last nail in the coffin to allow Oceans to start getting a lead, and as a result of not having that second death, Oceans 2 levels behind PandaCat, surprisingly enough. There's no deaths on Oceans.
And that's funny because usually you say if you lose the tower, lose your lane, right? But PandaCat winning while losing.
doing a good job though, because earlier on Pain was sitting in his lane for so long, being
Yep.
able to zone Oceans, which is why we see that experience gap. And this is what makes enemy relatively strong team being able to tactically exploit any weaknesses in your composition and styles, because PolarBearMike didn't want to sit in that duo lane forever. He wants to be looking for the taunt to set up Kiki in the mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, that's how we saw enemy win. That's how we saw enemy win on Friday against, I believe it was Envy, where they noticed that it was 2 out of the 5 characters were early game gods, and so enemy just camped those characters. Never get to the late game, you can't utilize your late game carries. Enemy does a very good job at playing the other team's composition or finding their Achilles heel. Problem right now is that with that early Gold Fury, Envy are in the lead.
They're trying to figure out another way to get this Gold Fury that's still up at 12-minute mark. Neither team really wanted to pull the trigger quite yet. It's more optimal for Envy to be the first one, since they do have the kitties, they have the circular protection, but they're still waiting for that right opportunity with PBM instead. We saw how devastating that one taunt into Spiritball was onto Shattered without the purification. If they can just keep grouping up around the jungle side, look for these taunts to force the relic usages, they could start looking for some easy picks and then the Gold Fury.
Right now, Ocean's just doing what he can to stay alive. He sees Pain come into his lane, but not too concerned. PolarBearMike's gonna get stunned and double tapped.
Really nice awareness, I would say, from enemy to spot out PBM around that corner. Also, kind of having like Jedi vision, predicting where exactly PBM would be. But with CycloneSpin right here, it's not going to be a problem as PBM gets topped off.
That wall wasn't as successful. Enemy don't really want to siege this just yet, but hey, look at Bastet. It's exactly what Skeeledon needs to bring to the table. Fighting down to the right side.
Have to be utilizing that Bastet a little bit more effectively and trying to go for these split pushes. You're level 13 now. He has the Jotun's Wrath available. He's going to be able to get a lot of more penetration once he does finish off the Titan's Bane. But right now, he's going to probably go for the Brawler's Beastic, I would assume, just because of the damage that it gives. You can see 40 physical power, 20 penetration for a very cost-effective usage. And that's what you want to do with Bastet, having the kitties, being able to really start melting objectives such as the Gold Fury and the towers.
And you get better bang for your buck. Skeeledon, of course, is going to use those to fight against towers, but Bastet also scales very well. I mean, up until this last patch, all of her abilities scaled at 100%, right? And that has just been adjusted very, very little. So when you're playing Bastet, you definitely want to look for this power stack build. I mean, it's not even out of the question. It's not for Skeeledon, but sometimes you see heavy power items on her. Check out Shattered ulting on the left.
Trying to find a play, but nobody really in range for that ultimate. Ocean's too far away. The wall, though, not on the mark either. The whoop slightly missing. It doesn't seem that enemy are able to really connect with any abilities. So now Envy could make a counter rotation play. 2 members up top, 2 underneath. This could be a sandwich.
There's the taunt. Spirit Ball is going to miss as PainDeViande able to wiggle his way out of there, but Khaos here as well, right side. There's the ultimate from Pain, and the ultimate from Khaos, just barely gonna catch Kiki. No follow-up from enemy.
Beautiful patience from Kiki, not utilizing the purification. Wasn't really worried about the taunts coming out of Khaos. He's more worried about the pluck from PainDeViande. That would put him really out of position, but now the circuit protection does not get the gold. Enemy steal it.
They take it right out from under enemy despite the Isis ultimate. You can talk about it all you want, but at the end of the day, how you push your buttons is how it works out. Envy draft a spectacular team to go ahead and take objectives, but enemy just don't care. They're able to steal it away.
I like the mindset because they traded out ultimates between Skeeledon and PainDeViande, and that's one ultimate from enemy that could contest the Isis circular protection. But for whatever reason, I don't even know what ability secured that Gold Fury for enemy, but they walk away cleanly now trying to defend their tier 1 tower, though.
Pain not so clean. You're going to get dirty in this fight, all the way down to 25%. Envy try to respond.
Oh! The 5-man dunk gonna be landing down. Now PBM in a lot of trouble. The horse coming in from Cyclone, not able to really save his life. Oceans with the follow-up damage going into the sky. He finds 1, finds 2, third one not on the mark.
And what a play. Envy still pushing. Kiki in trouble. Silence is good, but Marauder's better. 2 for the solo lane, and Oceans gets 1 as well across the way. And he's not done just yet. Sanctuary is going to fall. PandaCat switches targets. Skeeledon gets the kill, but Shattered able to put 1 down as well. 4 players dead. It's just Oceans. Scratch that. The whoop is going to secure it.
trying to find the hits, but unfortunately the pulse clips the wall twice in a row. MVP dunk from Shattered, hitting all 5 members from EnVyUs. What a play.
I spoke too soon. PandaCat can't clean it up. Gets the stun, but doesn't follow up with the damage, unfortunately. But Shattered!
This is the play that enemy needed to get back into the game. They found 4 members from Envy just completely gone. The tier 1 tower gets traded out as well. They finally find one after losing their one on the left-hand side. So getting a little bit of gold back into their pocket, especially being able to sneak that gold fury away from EnVyUs. Now it's finally enemy that have the gold lead this second game.
What a great play by Shattered, and I'm talking macro, not micro. Sure, it was an excellent play, and we're going to see it on the highlight reel forever. But coming into this LAN, right? Enemy's whole storyline was PandaCat's gone. How are they going to bounce back? Oh, he's back, and they're still not doing anything. And a lot of people were pointing fingers at Shattered. Being able to bounce back from pretty much an abysmal season like that, coming into the LAN when it matters, Shattered's able to make these plays. Game number 1, Shattered wins the game.
Yes.
Off of keeping the pace of the game up and making that happen. Unable to really do that in this game, Envy fought a lot quicker. Well, when enemy need him at their absolute most, they're down by about 3K, Shattered is the one that ties the game together with the ultimate. And look at that. Enemy now leading by 1,000 gold.
And he's also switched his style, because normally when we see him play the Thor, we're seeing the utility style. But now Shattered trying to punish Skeeledon for getting that tier 1 in the mid. Gonna find the whoop onto the speed buff Bastet. Nowhere to go. Nice cleanup kill. Even laughing. Honestly, the way Shattered's been playing this whole set so far, I'm still having goosebumps after that 5-man dunk, man.
I mean, this is the Shattered show. It's a wonderful thing to see. Kiki with the Silent Sun combo gets flipped back. Here's trouble as Khaos goes into the ultimate as well. Let's listen to Envy.
Back up. Nice spear pump. Kiki spoke. We have to be careful. I have ult. Cyclone whenever you want to go in. Sure. You can ult me. Sitting back. I have V's. Freya. That's Freya. I'm gonna back up a bit. Backing up a bit. In the back. That's wall. I got a triple top, but I'm dead.
I'm open too.
That's their shell. That's their shell.
Shell and Heavenly down.
You look like Skeely's up.
Med's also down. 5.
Raijin no ulti, Raijin no ulti.
Have both actives.
As long as we have Cyclone, we're good here.
Nice. Hammer. Keep going. Go on him.
I'm just catching these idiots.
Nice, Oceans.
Sobek's left, so nice.
I'm gonna TP
careful,
high.
just heal up, just heal
I'm
up.
TPing high. Can we chase?
Okay, yeah. Look at Raijin.
Golden a minute.
TPing the mid,
right?
actually. Okay, TP'd mid.
I'm gonna reset.
Back up.
Just go push
Actually,
left.
you
Go push left.
yeah.
I can chase pretty far. I have my ult.
So here's 2 issues that I heard of Envy. First of all, I do want to compliment them. Their comms were calm. Quite the opposite from what we heard out of Enemy. Just everybody going nuts. But I heard PolarBearMike say, I got a 3-man top when I'm dead. And unfortunately, that seems to be the entire motif. And as long as Cyclone's here, we're good. Now, the Guan Yu, sure, but they're focused. They got to look at Oceans. As long as Oceans is here, we're good. Oceans is the one making the plays in this game, and Envy have to realize that and embrace it.
And they have to be so patient, because now enemy, they have a little bit of boost of confidence after that last play they did, which is why we see such an aggressive grouping up on the right. We saw them being able to pick off PBM with a beautiful Thor wall after the ultimate from Cyclone, and PBM lands down, which is really good synergy by Envy, by the way, and being punished for it after trying to pick off Kiki. The hammer was down from Shattered. The ultimate from Oceans was beautifully executed, but now PandaCat taking a lot of poke from this Bastet.
That, the defensive set on the right side is now going to be turned offensive. PolarBearMike gets landed on. He's going to be slowed. He's going to get hit by the drums as well. Khaos can't seal the deal. Nice heal out of the Isis ultimate as well. PolarBearMike half HP.
Guan Yu, though, making PBM a little bit more than half health. The meditation still available for CycloneSpin if he wants to use it. The rest of enemy need to respect the sustain coming out of Envy. If they don't find these picks, they need to get out.
Double taunt this time. PolarBearMike's not dead yet. PainDeViande going to exit on the right. Marauder's going to exit on the left. Envy still want to be aggressive, but Skeeledon's going to throw out the cat scratch. Not find a home for it, so they retreat.
Skeeledon really needs to start looking for more split push opportunities. All 3 tier 2 towers are exposed, but now CycloneSpin trying to zone away, forcing PandaCat into his ultimate while the rest of his team does gold.
And it's close to death. Envy lost this one last time, and they had the Isis ultimate. This time they secure it, despite the fact that they have no tools. PandaCat able to take out PolarBearMike. Skeeledon's going to jump backwards, and PainDeViande's going to hunt him down.
Trying to find the Bastet, not on the mark with the ultimate. Pain trying to find the kill. The double tap does find it. PBM falls early. Kiki falls as well. That's 3 dead on the side of EnVyUs. Nowhere to go. Get stunned out. One more hit from Marauder. Only CycloneSpin left alive. Everybody up from enemy. They have the whole map in their advantage. They can take anything they want here.
Shattered misses the ultimate right there, but you know what? I'm going to let him slide. He's been hitting all of them.
It was a zoning ult.
Sure.
He hit a 5-man ult earlier, man. He knows how to hit those Thor ults.
No, see, that's what it is. He had 5 before, so we can afford to hit 0. It's all about evening out the numbers at the end of the day. But no, like I said, I mean, I'm gonna let that one slide. He really has made the impact, and then that kill on the left side, max range stun. So you gotta give it to him. But here, enemy with a fantastic almost deicide are gonna look towards the fire giant. This one will be lightly contested. Cyclone's gonna come in, and he's caught.
Nowhere to go. He can't get in position for the Athena ultimate to crash down, but now PainDeViande's taking a lot of poke. The Thunder Crash coming out. EM has nowhere to go. Gonna get taken out, but this is a great bait because they buy time for Skeeledon to rotate back in with his teleport, and now they have the DPS to really stop this fire giant. The sacrifice was so necessary for PBM.
And Pain took so much damage, mainly from the fire giant there, that enemy have to retreat. Almost thought that one was gonna go away for free, but praise be to Athena, said the Greeks, and so did Envy.
I'm surprised.
She's Greek, not Roman, right?
I'd say so.
Okay, I just always
My
mix up
lord's a
those
little
pantheons.
shaky, but I'm pretty sure Athena's Greek.
I always mix up those pantheons. I can tell you who's Mayan. It's Chalk. But anyway, anybody else, I always get thrown for a loop. But
What about Sobek?
Oh, he's the man. He's Egyptian. But seriously, without the Athena there, that fire giant goes to enemy. Wonderful Athena pick.
And I'm surprised that we saw enemy back and go for the fire giant immediately instead of where they got all those kills was around the duo lane, right? They had so much time to be able to get the tier 1, get the tier 2, and extend their goal lead to an extra 2,000, and then slowly look for more plays because it seems that they're doing a good job winning these team fights. They don't necessarily need the fire giant at this point. Just keep slowly pushing their lead. Every time we see Soar play this whole weekend, they don't care about these objectives. They're going for anything that can just give them a little bit of gold, minus the Gold Furies, minus the Fire Giants.
At the same time, it is a tie game, so enemy looking for anything that will surge them forward. And like I said, I mean, you just killed 4 players. Why not go for the big one? Shattered going to get taken out of his Zerkers. PolarBearMike going to pop the sprint, because here comes everyone else. Served up into the whoop, Shattered up in the sky.
Trying to see where he wants to land. He still has a little bit of time. Tries to get onto Skeeledon, but a nice jump away. Now the rest of enemies going to continue the chase with a sprint. Let's go ahead and listen to enemy as they chase down Envy.
Reset. Back up. I'm good.
That's I still best at all. Yes, probably still.
I still told it down, so.
Yeah,
pretty sure they just
where are you, that's you? Yeah, no. Just poke one then. Good.
They reset.
Panda.
That's fine. My time. Oh my god, dude, I ulted early and it's
Back up.
Push me up. That's okay. Yeah. That's
Dude, I got fucking blocked by the cat.
Yeah, you're dying.
Whenever I ult, I get ice. I still
Teleport?
diving on
That's,
that. Don't commit what I'm
Don't
saying.
teleport.
Just let me get active.
Get the active. You don't have to uncommit like that, Marauder. They don't have a weakening, but they can just go on you because they have full pen, so you have to be careful. That's alright.
I can go right.
I'm literally yelling at the screen. Yeah, you did. When Marauder says he got blocked by the cats, you can see that kill code on Skeeledon. Well done. Good placement for the jungler. And that looked like it was enemy's fight. How did Envy turn it?
It just seemed that all the burst damage was onto one target. Marauder didn't have enough time to sustain off of his big baby form, and as a result, losing that one tanky frontliner right off the bat, he had no mobility because of the body blocks coming from Skeeledon's cats. You don't expect to get body blocked during big baby form, but it could actually happen. Same thing goes for potentially CycloneSpin playing the Guan Yu. Even Amaterasu's during their ultimate could get body blocked by kitties.
Yeah, I mean, always got to keep your mind in there. Marauder unfortunately falls, and that's going to... Enemies still have the kill lead, but Envy sneaking ahead so far. Kiki over here. making the aggressive play alongside his Athena, and that'll be a successful invade for Kiki.
Nice little red buff invade, making sure that PandaCat isn't the one having the red buff. This late game Freya with the red buff is not something you really want to be fighting into, so having the Fire Giant for EnVyUs, having the red buff for Kiki, they're going to be able to get this gold here probably uncontested. Pain is around the corner though, but he's left alone. The rest of his team just a little bit too staggered back.
Yeah, PolarBearMike's going to look at Pain just to make sure he doesn't have any ideas. And the Isis ultimate was available, so even if enemy did come and break up the party, I mean, they did manage to steal one outside of the Isis ultimate, but even still, the coin was certainly in EnVy's direction. Looking towards the mid lane now is EnVyUs, and they're going to be pushing here. Isis with spectacular wave clear as always.
Both junglers on the right-hand side, they have the teleports available to jump into this team fight at mid. Obviously, Skeeledon with his best at level 19. Titan's Bane complete. Brawler's Beatstick shattered going into the sky. Avoids the jump damage, having to retreat immediately as the kitties did get dropped. So that's going to be a tier 2 down on the right, tier 2 down in the mid. But without these kitties, you can't really be able to sneaking a Phoenix quite yet. Have to wait for that cooldown.
Skeeledon's done a great job adapting in this one. Like I said, his other playstyles just weren't working. I mean, even go back to Friday, I was questioning his ability on these heavy carry gods. I'd rather see him on the setup gods. This is something different. Pull something else out of your playbook. Enemy now going to get aggressive. Envy pops the Isis ultimate in turn. That'll sustain them up just a little bit. PainDeViande half HP underneath its own tower. Envy is being cautiously aggressive here. Not quite as oxymoronic as it sounds. They're staying out of the way of the tower, but still pushing forward. Right now, we see them retreating.
Shattered, though. He's looking for the right angle to find somebody stunned out. We see Marauder leading the charge, but CycloneSpin has other intentions. He's going to dive in the backline. PandaCat doesn't have his ult, gets stunned out, but a nice little shell mitigating some damage. Still looking for some more things. PBM's going to be able to disengage, and now Shattered in the backline, finding Skeeledon, having to retreat. But Kiki, he could be isolated here if the rest of enemy collapses.
Kiki chases the jungler, but gets stunned instead. Honestly, what we just saw was just a mess of counterplay coming out from both teams. Envy with the smart. I love the ultimate on a CycloneSpin, trying to find the counterplay. Shattered has a counterplay of his own against the mid lane. Excellently done by, honestly, both sides. That's why we wind up with nothing.
Forces out double purification from PandaCat, and I like the idea, right? His ultimate was down. He couldn't go into the sky to negate all that cavalry charge damage, but without that sanctuary there, that would have definitely been a kill. So I like the mindset for Envy to pull out a little bit of a bait and then go for the more aggressive side, because they have the sustain between Guan, the Isis ultimate, and their Fire Giant for an additional action. Now it's just going to fade away, so Fire Giant respawning at 55.
And both teams will certainly keep that in mind, rather. They definitely know that's the case, but a much different situation for enemy this time. Envy are up 6,000 gold. Very quickly that one happened. We were looking at a game neck and neck for pretty much the entirety of it until right about maybe 2 minutes ago. You can see it just jet up, and that was Envy's great play.
It was just a great play, being able to get those tier 2 towers off of the Fire Giant, which was a result of, unfortunately, Marauder overextending slightly, couldn't really get saved by his teammates, so now gonna have to be way more careful with his positioning. And now PBM grouping up on the right-hand side, being able to strip away another late game buff. This is something that enemies not normally known to have happen to them, right? They're more known to be making the plays, not having the plays made onto them.
Skeely still trying to push what this Bastet brings, dodging the stun and is Shattered. He's going to push up on this left side lane, able to clear the wave decently. Shattered going to sit back and watch. Meanwhile, the rest of Envy on the right side, Sans Cyclone, who's mid. Skeely gets the quick kill on the tower. He'll walk away.
With that Crusher, every single pen item is been completed for Skeeledon. Absolutely will melt these towers. Doesn't even need the kitties to secure it. So now it's going to have to be somebody always watching for these Phoenixes. There's no more tier 2 towers for enemy.
There's going to be the teleport. Nice. It shows up. CycloneSpin immediately banished. And the enemy successfully stopped the Fire Giant push, but they're on their back foot.
Nice little poke onto Marauder. Gonna take away about 10 to 15% of his health as the rest of Envy continue to start up the Fire Giant. CycloneSpin being that one-man zone, making sure that he can potentially dive the backline with his ultimate. PBM could synergize with the Defender of Olympus, being able to probably chunk away Chaos here.
50% on the Fire Giant. Envy has not yet leashed. Oceans has been doing a lot of the damage to it, while the rest of Envy deal with enemy, but here comes enemy looking for the full commit. There's a sprint out of Envy, and that's going to pull back off of the Fire Giant. Shattered misses the ultimate, but hits the stun wall. Khaos comes through with the ult, but it's going to be answered by Isis's well done damage mitigation. PandaCat over the top, not going to do much to PolarBearMike. He's pretty tanky, and that'll be that for Enemy.
Both teams just trying to figure each other out right now in the late game, but it seems that Envy's getting the better end of this with the constant sustain. But now a little taunt onto Marauder. The Spirit Ball lands onto Pain, silence as well, but it's Shattered. That's taken out by Oceans on the side, not even able to go up into the sky right now, but the snipes coming onto PandaCat and Khaos. PBM still a little bit too far out. The rest of his team wants to get the Fire Giant instead here.
Again, like I said earlier, Envy have to realize that Oceans is the guy right now. He honestly has been the guy for the majority of the split for me personally, watching him play. There goes the Fire Giant, 6-1-3 for the Rookie Hunter so far. And Oceans has just looked fantastic on this round.
This is really problematic for Enemy if they lose this game, because right now they're sitting at 4 points. There's 2 points behind Denial. So it's very important if they can find this last game, making sure that they tie with Denial, try to get themselves in a position to qualify into Super Regionals. Envy, though, controlling the pace of the game. They have 2 on the right, 3 on the left. They're able to take out PandaCat. They're going to get that right side Phoenix. Pain on the left trying to defend against 3.
You know, this is a great game for Skeeledon. Hold that thought. Ocean's in a little bit of trouble. It's a 2-on-2, but the health certainly doesn't look that way. Enemy have the lead as far as that's concerned. Ocean's likely to fall. There it is. Marauder gets it, but Envy returned with the big rotation. There's the death of Khaos over there on the right side. Double stun to the double pop. Shattered in trouble. Doesn't have his hammer available, but he'll be able to get out of there no problem. PolarBearMike misses the dash hit, but gets a taunt. But oh well, Envy get what they came for. Down goes the Phoenix.
2 for 1. Envy still controlling this late game push that they have going. They got the right side Phoenix. Despite losing their late game Hunter, they don't worry about that in terms of Phoenix damage control, because they have Skeeledon with every single pen item in the game. And now Marauder, though, caught in an awkward position. So much CC. The meditation buying him a little bit of time. Bleed not enough to take him out.
Taunt, stun, slow, taunt. Big CCs coming out of Envy. That's going to allow them to separate themselves from the team long enough to take out the left side Phoenix as well. Cats come out of Skeeledon.
Great defensive ulti. I like this idea. You're waiting for the respawn for Oceans anyway. You already got what you came for with all 3 Phoenixes. By the time you regroup, you get the gold here, you back and buy, spend all your gold. Those kitties will be back up anyway.
I mean, exactly. Late game, the Cats aren't as effective, right? We saw the kill on a Marauder, and that's pretty much where the Cats are going to come in handy when you're able to use their body block.
They're pretty good also for eliminating backdoor protections, and if Envious bait
That's
enemy
the key.
towards the Fire Giant, Skeeledon with this teleport could potentially sneak and go for a backdoor Titan plate if they want to get fancy, but Envy, I don't think they're going to try for anything like that. They're a little spicy. They're a little spicy, but I don't think they're that spicy.
I don't know. I'll keep my mind open for sure. I think they might be able to dial up the heat a little bit. Right now we've been eating mild. Well, we've been eating.
How spicy are they? Are we like in Buffalo Wild Wings and we're looking at the spice-o-meter right now?
I mean, like, if that's the case, we've been eating naked wings as far as Envy is concerned. But this game particularly, all right, maybe yesterday when they got their win, a little bit mild here, dialing up the heat a little bit. Nowhere near hot or wild just yet.
What about nuclear?
Oh,
They did pull out the tsunami yesterday.
I mean, sure, as far as that's concerned, but I don't know. Relative level of spice, Envy have a long way to go before they're at Ghost Pepper or even Habanero.
Mango Habanero is where it's at.
But even still right now, Envy are doing what they have to. They're out of the run as far as the Super Regionals is concerned, but like we were talking about before, they're still looking for this gauntlet play.
They want to be able to get a little bit more points, get a little bit of a better standing in the gauntlets. They don't want to go through such a devastating, like, it would be so many best of 3s and there would be too many opportunities to get knocked out. But now Skeeledon trying to find poke onto PandaCat, but left in a 1v1 spot, not able to lock him down. Too much mobility.
All 3 Phoenixes are down for the count here. Envy popped their potions just before. They're looking to make their final push, Anatoly.
Shattered's in the sky, the sprint being popped by EnVyUs though, catching Kiki into the purification, but now Shattered taking a lot of damage in return, hammering away the rest of Envy, pushing up.
And they're just going to go for it. Out come the Cats. PainDeViande separated on the right-hand side. Khaos Titan is the target. Ice's ultimate is dropped. There's PainDeViande getting the kill on a Kiki, but does it matter? That's the question. Double kill for Skeely. PandaCat gets 1 kill onto a player, but EnVy get the kill onto the Titan, and that's game.
That is game completely, and that could be maybe game for enemy in terms of qualifying to Super Regionals right now. They're 2 points behind Denial. They went into this expecting a better performance. They played the first game relatively solid. Second game, though, EnVyUs seemed more comfortable because I guess they felt like they had nothing to lose, so they were going for this kind of different picks and bans.
Maybe that's the case, but again, I still point to Skeeledon. Skeeledon had a big impact there, making a couple of the split pushes, changing the play style. If you're not going to be, you don't have to be a hard carry jungler. Look how successful Eager has been with DJ Pernicus playing maybe 1 out of 5 games on those hard carries. You could be different. Play maybe utility, play maybe different, and that's exactly what Skeeledon does here successfully.
He was just laughing and smiling, having a good time. We could definitely see a lot more comfortability now with EnVyUs going into their last set here. It's nothing that I'm like, they made the changes day 1 into day 2 with a few more standard picks for Kiki, specifically going from the Cupid into more of the Raijin, the Raw, and it's been more successful for them. So I want to see more of a solidified identity coming out of EnVy.
And well, that's certainly something they've been looking for pretty much the entirety of this season, I think. When you look at some of these teams, you can say, all right, Eager, they're going to do their own meta, right? And you look at Soar, they're just going to play excellent Smite, right? What is EnVy's identity? I asked a couple of players that in interviews, and they wound up giving me generic answers. I don't think EnVy really know what their identity is. This, although it might be a little bit too late, this LAN is really helping them figure that out.
This is definitely a good learning ground for them as a whole. They haven't been really in a LAN together as all 5 members since they've been going through some roster changes. So the fact that they're here together now, they dwell into each other's mindsets a little bit more. They know what they're comfortable with, what they're not comfortable with, and we'll see how they progress moving forward.
So we discussed it a little bit during the game, but analysts, what's your take on this? Mild, hot, spicy, or nuclear?
Interesting is the response I'm going to give you there. Very, very interesting take on how things are going to go down here. Obviously, EnVy have been eliminated. We said that after the game 1, but they could play some spoiler, and they started that off well. Ionic, you mentioned it, you know, at the start. You expected them to potentially win here. You hoped for it, and it came true.
Yeah, I think the key to this game really was Kiki's Isis, actually. It was a god he was known for a lot last year. In team fights, he had some really, really key Isis ultimates, as well as Mike having some really good shells, really shutting down the Raijin ultimates coming from Khaos.
Now, if you look at the standings you see on the screen right now, Soar are guaranteed. You just don't know what seed just yet. Denial and Enemy can both still qualify. It's a lot of twos and throws. Obviously, EnVy have to face off against Denial now as well, and that game could influence whether Enemy can make it or not. If EnVy can perform again the way they just did, they could keep both teams still in it.
Exactly. So we'll have to see what EnVy's going to do. They hurt Enemy there. Now Enemy's kind of rooting for them to help them up against Denial next.
One of the worst situations to be in as well. For you guys at home, and you didn't know this as well, I mean, I just tweeted it out. I don't think a lot of people recognize this. Even I didn't know until just recently. But for the Gauntlet stages, all the teams are unlocked. They have to keep 3 of their original members at least, but you can have roster changes when it comes to the Gauntlet. So you could actually see these teams mix things up going into the Gauntlet.
But I mean, it is like no time. A Gauntlet
like
is
a
this
week.
next weekend. So to make changes right now would be very, very risky for these Gauntlet teams. Any team that are locked to Super Regionals are locked. Those rosters are going to be set no matter what. But like you mentioned, these Gauntlet teams, they are open. They only need 3 out of 5 members to stay. Could see some spicy stuff. We'll have to wait and see.
That's always the dream, right? What spicy stuff we could wait to see here. But a good performance so far from EnVy in that game. It's one of the first times they really stepped up. You mentioned Isis was a big integral part of that for Kiki. Kiki looked great aggro.
It's about time we've seen Kiki on this Isis. I mean, we've been looking for Kiki to play a traditional mage over and over and over again. He tried out the Raijin. They first picked it. Well, they didn't first pick it, but it was on the first set of EnVy picks in this set. They go for the Raijin, but this is the god that I was waiting for him to play. Like Ionic mentioned, he was known for this god in Season 2. That and Nuwa are the 2 like traditional mages that Kiki has the most comfort on. Nuwa not seeing as much play, and players not being as used to the clay minion change quite yet. I think that we're still a little bit of ways away from players really being comfortable with that change, but Isis, we can see why Kiki's so comfortable on it.
And at the same time, though, we did see Shattered in that game as well. He wasn't all EnVy. Enemy did get off to a good start at certain points of that game as well. They continued that 5-man Thor ultimate at one point. You don't see them too often, do you?
Yeah, Shattered was really impressive this game, I think. Unfortunately, it just came down to EnVy's comp, the Guan Yu healing towards the later stage of the game. There's a lot of team fights that they shouldn't have been winning. They disengage, they Guan heal up, and they are suddenly in a power position.
And he's just coming back to sustain again. I mean, we've seen the Terra, we've seen the Ra, we've seen the Sylvanas. Now the Guan's coming into play. Just ban them all, right?
You may as well. No more sustain for anyone. And yeah, that 5-man Thor ult was hot. I mean, this one, not as much. It was more of a zoning ult. You know what? You make sure that Skeeledon can't go right there, but able to pick it up anyways. Yeah.
Cover the option. Well, it didn't work out great for Enemy in that one, but overall, they do still have a shot. And actually, waiting right now for an interview is PandaCat alongside Adonis.
PandaCat, unfortunate loss in Game 2. Talk to me about the feeling on the team heading into Day 3, because I think your on-her gameplay in Game 1 was some of the best we've ever seen from you.
Coming into Game 3, we knew these games were like really important for us, and if we were to 2-0 both teams, we'd be in one of the best spots that we've been this whole week and weekend. We were prepared for EnVy. I think Game 1 showed that. We knew what they were going to do. They didn't know what we were going to do. Like, based off like the picks, they were going to do something. We knew what they were going to do, like a step ahead of them. We executed our comp perfectly. We actually destroyed them for Game 1. Game 2, like, the Bastet caught us off guard, the split push, and then the fact that they just had Isis with all the sustain, it was like, it was so hard to go on her without them just backing up and healing, and she'd pop beads and Aegis on everything, and then you just have to back up, but it turns out your team took so much poke, and then they just go in on it.
You know, sustain's been a pretty hot topic throughout these group lands. Why did you guys not, you know, itemize into it or pick up sustain for yourself? Because we've really seen, you know, I'd have to say it's a really high win rate on teams that do have sustain versus teams that don't. Even lower seeded teams have been taking out those top seeds with that style of gameplay.
I don't think we were prepared for the healer meta. We know we don't. It's hard to play against it because if you don't all in, you're losing the fight. Like, if you try to poke, you can't poke them. They always try to go on you, and then you have to force like a cooldown or anything. With Athena, they beads me. Like, the whole game I had beads down. And then you try to go in and capitalize, but they just turn right around. They ignore you. They sustain, and then they go back in. We don't run the sustain comp. We didn't practice it a lot.
Yeah.
Like, we knew it was a meta. I just don't think we had enough time to pick out the Raw and the scrims. Like, we wanted to play it, but you know, when the stars align, you could pick like another character, and you're like, yeah, I could have played Raw there. I could have played like whatever the sustain god is. We definitely didn't practice it enough in scrims, and we're not really good versus sustain meta, which is why Game 2 was difficult.
Well, talk to me a little bit about Enemy as a whole. I mean, you guys came out again, you know, 2 rookies yourself, having only played 1 split as well, kind of a rookie. Dominated in the spring, right? You guys finished first, solid runs at DreamHack Masters, Epsilon Invitational. What has happened to Enemy? I know we've talked to some of you guys. It seems like your shot calling is kind of changing a little bit. Are you guys just having issues with that and trying to, you know, all follow one strict call?
We were very dominant in the spring split. We were number 1, I think, by far. Everyone was afraid of us. It was kind of like the NA Panthera, like, teams versing us were afraid of every single one of our players because they knew what we can do. DreamHack Masters, we placed well, and then Epsilon, we placed really well. I ended up leaving, so like the team kind of like, I took a break over the summer, so the team, they kind of fell apart a little bit. They used the sub Fierno. He played like really well. He played the
really
soul
well.
games, like they played really well. We did have some like in real life issues, which I'm not gonna like discuss here, but like. I think that we just fell apart a little bit, and the shot call situation, we started getting comfortable with some of the janky shot calls, like Gold Fury at 5 minutes, like Fire Giant 14 minutes, and it's not working now because teams are a lot smarter. They're like, if they're doing gold, we're just going to kill them.
Yep.
Yeah, they're just going to kill us. Then they pick up the gold, and even if we get the gold, it's usually a net loss. A lot of these games, even at this LAN, we've been up a lot, and we did like a weird call, like the Gold Fury call. I think we did gold like 4 times this LAN, and it was a bad call. We got like wiped, or we got the gold, and they killed us all. And I think if we remain the way we were in the spring split, and we return to that, and we shot call with one person, a distinctive shot call, everyone follows it, I think we're going to get back to our spring split form.
Are you confident that you guys are going to be able to do that by the time of the gauntlet? Now, obviously, you guys still have a chance here, but incredibly unlikely. Do you think you can fix the issues in under a week?
Yeah. We've last night we spent, I think we were up until 3 in the morning talking about what we've been doing wrong, why we've been doing it wrong, how we've been doing it wrong, what we can do to fix what we've been doing wrong, and we're putting in a tremendous amount of effort to fix our problems, because going from 1st to 7th, it's like wow, you know, we were up there and now we're down here, and we know that we can still go back up. Like, the road up is still there. You know, the stairs are right there. We just have to start climbing our way back up. We have to return to our basics. We've been like, we're putting a lot of effort into it.
Well, that's good to hear. Hopefully enemy can regain their form and compete with the best of them, but we still have more Smite action today. We'll be back after this short break.